I'll never forget the moment she said it. That one sentence, so simple yet so heavy, changed everything between us. We had been dating for 2 years, and I thought we were happy. Sure, we had our ups and downs like any couple, but I always believed we had something real, something worth fighting for. But that night, I realized I was the only one still fighting. It started as a regular evening. We were at her apartment, lounging on the couch, scrolling through Netflix, arguing over what to watch. The kind of moment that's supposed to be comfortable and easy. But then her phone lit up again and again. I wasn't the jealous type, but I wasn't blind either. I noticed how she would smile at her screen, quickly lock it, and act like nothing happened. I noticed how she started turning her phone face down whenever we were together. I tried to ignore it at first, but that night something inside me snapped. "Who keeps texting you?" I asked, my voice calm but firm. She sighed dramatically, rolling her eyes as if I had asked her the most ridiculous question in the world. "Why do you care?" she shot back. "Because we're together," I said, keeping my tone steady, "and I feel like there's something you're not telling me." That's when she said it. She leaned back, crossed her arms, and with a smirk that sent a chill down my spine, she said, "There are plenty of men who want me." I just stared at her, waiting for her to take it back, to laugh and say she was joking. But she didn't. Instead, she picked up her phone and started scrolling like the conversation was over. At that moment, something inside me shifted. I realized I had been trying so hard to be the man she wanted. To keep her happy. To make her feel loved. But what about me? What about my worth? I nodded slowly, processing her words. Then I stood up. "Good to know," I said. She looked up, confused. "What?" I grabbed my keys from the table, turned to face her one last time, and said, "If there are plenty of men who want you, then you won't miss me." Then I walked out. I expected her to chase after me, to call, to text, something. But she didn't. The first night, I barely slept. I kept checking my phone, waiting for a message that never came. Maybe she was waiting for me to be the first to break, to come crawling back like I always did after an argument. Not this time. I focused on myself. I hit the gym, reconnected with old friends, started doing things I enjoyed but had neglected during our relationship. It felt good. It felt like freedom. Then 2 weeks later, I got the text. "Hey." That was it. Just hey. I stared at my screen, debating whether to reply. But then I remembered she had made her choice, and I had made mine. I left it on read. A month passed before I saw her again. I was out with friends, laughing and enjoying myself, when she walked in. She looked different. Tired. Maybe even regretful. Her eyes met mine across the room, and for a moment everything froze. It was like time rewound to the moment when everything fell apart. But now there was a weight on her shoulders that I hadn't seen before, a kind of heaviness in her posture that made me realize how much had changed in such a short time. She spotted me, hesitated for a second, then made her way over. She was moving slowly, like she wasn't sure if she had the right to approach me. When she reached my table, I felt a flicker of something. Was it guilt? Hope? I couldn't tell. "Hey," she said softly, her voice almost shy, as if the confident woman I once knew had disappeared. I nodded in acknowledgement but didn't say much. I wasn't angry. I wasn't hurt. I just didn't know what to say anymore. She had already said everything that needed to be said. The words. The excuses. The justification. I had given her the chance to make a choice. And now she was here, admitting she'd made the wrong one. I was wrong, she admitted, looking down at her drink, her fingers nervously tapping on the glass. I thought I had options, but they weren't real. Not like what we had. I let her words sink in, each syllable dragging me back to a time when I would have given anything to hear her say something like that. A time when I would have done whatever it took to fix what was broken. But now, it didn't change a thing. The old me would have fallen for it. The old me would have taken her back with open arms and a heart full of hope. But that version of me didn't exist anymore. "You're right," I finally said, my voice calm, almost detached. "They weren't real. But I was." She looked up at me, her eyes searching mine, maybe looking for some kind of forgiveness, some sign that I still cared. But I didn't owe her that anymore. She had made her choice when she said there were plenty of men who wanted her, and I wasn't going to be part of her backup plan. She reached for my hand the same way she used to, with that familiar touch that once made me feel like I was the center of her world. But this time, I pulled away. Not out of anger, but because I had learned to value myself more than I ever had before. "I hope you find what you're looking for," I said, giving her a small smile. A smile that didn't come from a place of regret or longing, but from understanding. Understanding that sometimes the hardest thing to do is walk away from someone who doesn't appreciate you. I turned back to my friends, picking up the conversation where we'd left off. But as I did, I felt a quiet peace wash over me. It wasn't about winning or losing. It was about knowing my worth, even when she didn't. As I walked away from her, I realized something. I wasn't bitter. I wasn't angry. I was just done. She thought she had options, and maybe she did. But so did I. And this time, I chose myself. This time, I wasn't looking for someone to fill the void. I wasn't searching for someone to tell me that I was good enough. I already knew that. And that, I realized, was the greatest freedom I could ever have. Looking back, I realized that she didn't just lose a boyfriend. She lost the only person who would have stayed when everyone else walked away. But I didn't lose anything. I gained the one thing no one can ever take from me, is my own respect. Some people will only realize your value once you've become a memory. If they couldn't appreciate your presence, make sure they feel your absence. Because at the end of the day, the most powerful move you can ever make is choosing yourself.